Any questions or comments? Please.
Hello, Teresa Byrne from the London Borough of Ealing, Westminster Diocese. Thank you very much for that interesting contribution, Jenny. There's just a couple of things. You talked about the importance of the Sea Judge Act for Archbishop Rohrlock, the cardine. One of the essential things about the Act part of that was formation. It wasn't just about this is a nice way of doing it, it was all about the formation of the laity. But they were to act, to challenge. What about the challenge to the most powerful in society, which, you know, hold the capitalism of this country, the neoliberalism? That I felt was somewhat missing from what you're actually offering to us.
I thought someone was going to ask that question. What I'm trying to do is to broaden this, to include more people. I'm not saying you don't challenge. There's always a place for people who will challenge, and a lot of those people are here in this room. But my point is that the majority of people of goodwill are not in that space. And if you characterise the church's way of doing justice as just about that challenge bit, a whole lot of people won't want to be involved. They will not join you. But they will, for example, move their money from one bank to another. They will change their behaviour if you make it easy for them to find other ways. That's why I talk about hidden journeys. Because that's why I'm saying you don't just rush to an action. You root yourself in your tradition through prayer, linking your own spirituality, and that in itself will open up more creativity. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I may not disagree, but I understand.
I'm not saying you shouldn't challenge. There's plenty of people doing that. I'm just saying there aren't enough people addressing justice in other ways.
Please. In the middle there. Thank you.
Thank you. Well-known Green Christian, and thank you very much. I loved your emphasis on humanising, the humanisation of the relationships that we are seeking to engage people in. But I have a question a little bit like the previous one, in that, you know, we work on a global scale with issues which are global and for which and actually a lot of the more effective, well, here's a word to kind of come with, the more effective campaigning, whatever that is, that we feel we can do is about prevention and on issues for which there are not yet victims. And I think, for instance, of TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, which is coming down the line, but we don't yet have case studies of people who are struggling with this kind of thing. So I suppose, yeah, I'm in the same area as Teresa just now, but I'm also thinking, actually, I have heard something that has really warmed my heart about how we can engage with diffuse, global, future issues for which there are no individuals to engage at a personal level. But how is it that we can do that? What is it that's warming my heart in hearing what you have to say? I don't know if you can help me there.
You want me to tell you what's warming in your heart? I suggest you go away and pray about it and think about it, because I can't tell you that. But it's interesting that something has reached you. I think I'm saying something slightly different from what the NJPN has usually been talking about. I'm not saying it's an either or, I'm saying it's both and. I'm saying if you want to widen your movement, especially if you want to reach more young people, you're going to have to change. And if you carry on just saying this is the way we do justice, you'll just attract the same people. And I think if we want to change the world, we need a lot more people involved, and we need to make it easy for them. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know if that answers your question.
Right at the back.
Hi, I'm Liam from Church Action on Poverty. I'm running a workshop later where we're going to explore a lot of these questions actually, so thanks for connecting with that. My question is about churches and social action. I was interested to hear you saying that all of those social action projects you think as examples of the common good. Our experience is that churches can be very good at social action, but it doesn't always make that step into becoming about relationship, becoming about common good. Too often it's a them and us, and a relationship of charity and of paternalism. How do you think churches can be helped to make the step from that to a church that is generally of the poor rather than just a church that is doing things to the poor?
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that's a really important thing to say. It is about formation, isn't it? It's about this sense of, are we doing good too, and this sort of paternalistic way of the middle classes, let's face it, thinking we're doing something to help the working classes. Well, I would say the big lesson is Brexit. You know, how many people here would say they want to be a voice for the voiceless, right? Everybody would say that, but they have actually voted to leave, and I would guess that most people here remain. So the key to this is actually to get to know the people who you think you're serving. If you're going to take that rather dismissive, maybe contemptuous view of people who disagree with you, and they also happen to be poor, you've got a problem. So it's really about getting to know people and their own culture and saying, you know, we want to be involved and let's work together rather than come inside and be like us. So that's why I go on about relationships, because if you don't know who you're dealing with, you're going to end up perpetuating, as you say, this kind of sense of being a missionary in the urban world, whereas actually those are the very people who will, as Pope Francis says, will renew the church, but need to embrace them as they are, you know, with tattoos, with whatever cultural practices we may not like. Let's be honest here. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Please. I'm Sam Corcoran, I'm a councillor from Cheshire. Now you mentioned that as soon as you say political parties, you turn off an awful lot of people, and I accept that. And I would go further, that it's a real problem at the moment that a lot of politicians are held in contempt by a large number of the population. On the other hand, political parties are engaging with the community, and they are large organisations, and I believe you have to work through them if you want to change the law. So how do you think we and organisations should engage and influence political parties?
Well, as I said, we do hold conversations with MPs across parties. So we do engage with them. I wasn't trying to say you don't engage with political parties. I was saying that CST transcends the left and right. That's what I'm saying. Right? It's a different thing. So the how, well, at grassroots level, if you're a member of a constituency party, then you engage with these values and you don't stand for demonisation, you don't stand for the kind of intimidation that we're seeing going on. You try and build bridges between the different wings in the party that you're a member of. You try to bring together MPs of different traditions in your local area, get them to work together on the same project. That's very practical. So I would say, I'll give you an example. Back in my father's day with Archbishop Warlock, there was a community of people in the Vauxhall area of Liverpool who wanted to build a community village on the old Tate and Lyle bombed out area where the post-industrial space, okay? And they went to the local council, which was the militant council at the time, and they said, will you help us, will you support us to do this? The militants wouldn't agree to it because they thought that all public social housing had to be provided by the council. So they didn't get anywhere there. So they then went to the bishops to say, would you support us? And they helped them, but it was very much a grassroots initiative. So the role there is to support what local people want, but bringing in the politicians as is helpful. So in the end, it was Patrick Jenkin from the Thatcher government that enabled them to get that village started. And it's still there today, with 150 plus families living there, right, community owned. So I think what I'm saying is, yeah, you engage with political parties, but you start with the grassroots, you start with what people actually want, and then you say, right, we need your help, could you help us, could you help us? I mean, John can speak about that better than I can, but does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got one more here, then I've got a time till it started a bit late and I'm already taking some of your coffee break away, so as long as you're aware of that, try and get back on track.
Hi, I'm Louise Cook, field worker for Nottingham Diocese Justice and Peace Commission. Jenny, I really loved everything that you had to say. It really resonated on every level. And I loved that you emphasised the laity so much, because we are the church. But my question is, how do we better engage the clergy in this concept?
Great question. And, first of all, we shouldn't be waiting for the church leaders. We should just get on with it. That's the first thing. The second thing is to understand that a lot of the clergy struggle with this kind of thing. I've looked into this a lot. For example, we've had approaches from Anglican clergy, from Catholic religious orders, from all sorts of different sectors saying, can you help us understand about the common good? How can we put it into practice? You'd think they'd know, wouldn't you? But they're human beings like everybody else. And I've asked people about the formation of the clergy. I said, why don't they know their CST better? Why can't they do this joined up thinking of how you put it into practice? And they say, do you know how much they have to learn? You know, they start listing all the parts of the catechism and, you know, they don't have time. So I'm saying, well, you need to reform the formation of the clergy, right? That's what I would say. But in the meantime, let's be sympathetic with them. Let's be sympathetic. Let's not try and ambush them and say, you know, you should do this and you should do that. But we spoke at, John Credis and I spoke at the AXA conference last October in Leeds, and we had the same kind of conversation there. And I think you know, it's good if the laity can be very constructive and supportive of the clergy rather than trying to ambush. Because there are a lot of them, you know, we're talking about an ageing demographic, we're talking about people under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, behind the scenes isolation among a lot of priests. So we're asking quite a lot of them. So what we really want is a sense of an informed, active laity in every parish that helps them and supports them, and we want priests that enable them to do that. So that's again about cultivating a relationship. Does that make sense?
Jenny spoke, she used the phrase at one point in her address, the special role of the church is to foster a culture of encounter between estranged groups. Someone in my neighbourhood that's not in the church but in the tensions that we've got said that those of us who are now learning to take politics seriously need to become political Samaritans, listening to the others, experts in listening. I think one of the phrases you used as well was learning to affirm the legitimacy of what each person has to contribute. Jenny, I think what you and John Crudders have in common and bring to us is to challenge our habits of mind, another phrase that you used, which is a bit more than just challenging our ideas and perspectives, our habits of mind. And perhaps we can work through that in the workshops for the rest of the day into the other sessions. But can we thank Jenny for her address? It's something we'll return to.